John Wall nowadays is just a guy that's on the Houston Rockets bench getting paid $40 million to not play. Still feels he has the skill, but no team wants him because of a bad contract and he's in a bad situation. But for all my younger people out there, what if I told you John Wall had one of the greatest high school mixtapes of all time, and coming out of Kentucky was the top player in the country and was the favorite to be the number one pick in the 2010 NBA draft by the Washington Wizards, who had just won the lottery and had a 10% chance of winning the number one pick, and got lucky, got the number one pick. And they needed someone of John Wall's caliber at the time, as Gilbert Arenas, who was the starting point guard, was clearly falling apart on that team. They needed a new face, so Washington then selected the 6'4 guard, had hopes of him becoming a franchise player that could lead them to the promised land one day. I mean, he even had his own shoe deal with Reebok as well back in 2010. John Wall's high leadership qualities and on-court playmaking abilities to also go along with some rare athleticism in a point guard at the time made him an automatic star from the jump in his rookie season. During his rookie campaign, John Wall averaged 16 points per game to go along with 8 assists and 5 boards a night, and he was the best rookie in his class for sure that season, but lost the Rookie of the Year award to Blake Griffin, who had just come back from season-ending surgery last season and was qualified for the award, and he put up historic rookie numbers that year, so John Wall was a second place winner instead. And even though John Wall didn't win the award, he was still first team All-Rookie, and Washington knew for certain they had a star player on their hands to build around for the future. In the following season for John Wall, sophomore year for him in the NBA, the Wizards stayed the course with a similar bad team from the previous season, which meant Washington wasn't going to get really any better. They were still going to be a bad team. Gilbert Arenas wasn't on the squad anymore. And they did get a good production year from John Wall, who put up a very similar stat line to his rookie season. Didn't miss a game that year. And the only concern at the time was his lack of shooting ability from the perimeter, as he only attempted 0.6 threes a night and shot only 0.71% from three. So he wasn't attempting any jump shots from three at all. But besides that, John Wall was still putting up good numbers and still looked like that number one pick, and it looked like it was only going to go up from there. Then heading into that third year, things didn't start well for John Wall, as he was out for the first 33 games of the season, causing Washington to be an even worse team this season. And though when he came back, he did average a new career high in points per game at 18 points per game and was still doing John Wall things. But the Wizards did have a new backcourt partner with him and Bradley Beal, and he was the third pick in the 2012 draft. Added some elite shooting to the backcourt since John Wall was more of a slasher and a floor general. The Wizards had another bad year though, finishing 29-53, but did have some promise on the roster if John Wall could stay healthy the next season. And that exactly happened in the 2013-14 season, as John Wall played all 82 games that year, had himself an Iron Man type of season when it came to availability. But on the court, John Wall had his best season yet, making the All-Star game for the first time in his career, had an electrifying dunk in the dunk contest, and on the real court, John Wall had a high impact on the game, averaging 19 and 9, with also a career high in three-point percentage at 35%. To think of where he had came from his rookie season, it was a big development in the right direction. And because of this, along with the improved roster around him and Bradley Beal's development, averaging 17 points per game, the Wizards made the playoffs with a 44-38 record, and this was going to be the first playoff experience for John Wall's early NBA career. The Wizards had some solid success winning against the Bulls in the first round in 5 games, but ended up losing to a really good Pacers team led by young Paul George in the second round in a good 6-game series. The Wizards had some playoff experience though, and some vets to go along with the young stars, and despite John Wall having a really inefficient playoffs that season, the Wizards looked almost ready to compete with the top teams in the East, and John Wall looked like he was ready to enter that top point guard conversation in the NBA. With higher expectations, heading into the 2014-15 season after making his first playoff appearance, John Wall had once again had something to prove, and that was if he could perform on the big stages when they mattered most. After shooting 36% in the playoffs last season, During the regular season, though, he still continued to be a superstar in the making All-Star game once again for the second time in a row, and also averaged a double-double on the season with a 17 and 10 type of year, leading the Wizards to a 46 and 36 record, which was a 2-game improvement from last season. And now heading into the postseason, once again, this was John Wall's time to shine. And he did. He played better. Still could have shot better though, shot 39% and 16% from 3. But, you know, he did average 17 and 12, and it probably could have been better, like I said, but the Wizards ended up losing in the second round once again to the 60-win Atlanta Hawks team in 6 games, and missed out on the Eastern Conference Finals for another season in the John Wall era. But they did feel progress was being made, so they made really not a lot of adjustments, but they did try to tweak up the roster. And going into year 6 of the John Wall era in Washington, the Wizards did lose a couple key guys like Trevor Ariza, Paul Pierce, and the Wizards had a worse roster, which caused them to miss the postseason, unfortunately, for the first time in a couple years. Even though individually John Wall did do his thing and made the All-Star game once again, but he had no real meaningful playoff success so far in his career, and this was holding him back from being in the top point guard conversation. To also go along with the fact that he was still a below average jump shooter and was in a position with guys like Kyrie, Steph, CP3, who all hit big shots and all came up big time in big games or big moments, which Wall hadn't done throughout his career so far. So the 2015-16 season was a wash, and nothing really went down for John Wall and the Washington Wizards. But the 2016-17 season was the best season yet, and still to this day, the best season John Wall has ever had. John Wall, who came out on a mission this season, averaged a career-high 23 points per game, a career-high 11 assists per game, and averaged about 5 rebounds a night like he usually did, and shot 45% from the floor, led the Wizards to a 49 and 33 record, 4th in the Eastern Conference, the best seeding the Wizards had in the John Wall era, and he once again had an Iron Man-like season, playing 78 out of 82 games, so he only missed 4 games this year, and was even top 10 in MVP voting, ranking 7th that season in MVP votes. He was 3rd team All-NBA, which was something he had never done in his career, and this seemed like the perfect storm for John Wall. Heading into the playoffs, they had a good roll. They won the first round against the Hawks and had a 7-game classic series with the Boston Celtics in the second round, led by MVP candidate Isaiah Thomas. But due to a Game 7 masterpiece by Kelly Olynyk, who was an unexpected hero for the Boston Celtics, at TD Garden, the Celtics won in the decisive Game 7 to send Washington home once again, causing the Wizards and John Wall to miss the Eastern Conference Finals for a the third season in the last 4 years. John Wall, not to mention though, had a great playoffs and showed he can ball with the best of them, averaging 27 points per game with 10 assists per game as well, shot the ball efficiently, even had a 40-point game in the first round against the Hawks, and this is still John Wall's best season to this day. Now, with huge expectations for Wall and the Wizards heading into the 2017-18 NBA campaign, it was time for them to make a leap into finals contention. But unfortunately for the Wizards, John Wall missed half the season, playing only 41 games, and the Wizards were the 8th seed, luckily still making the playoffs, but this was where the downfall in John Wall's career started. During the time he was out, Bradley Beal became the go-to guy for the Wizards, and he averaged 23 points per game, a career high for him. His improved ball handling really made him a threat from anywhere on the court. And now there was questions floating around this team when John Wall came back, and he did come back in time for playoffs. He averaged the most points in the first round loss to Toronto with 26 a night, but Bradley Beal averaged 23 alongside him, and he shot way more efficient than John Wall did in that series, at least from 3-point when we talk about that. And then now led to the discussion of whose team it was. Was it Bradley Beal's or was it John Wall's? And things were officially starting to spiral downhill fast for John Wall, especially his time in Washington, as he played 32 games the following season, and despite putting up regular John Wall numbers when healthy and becoming a better jump shooter, we all know the best ability is availability, and Bradley Beal became that guy for the Wizards. Meanwhile, John Wall, already dealing with the heel problems he had, in January 2019, he tore his Achilles and was now going to miss the following season as well, which now meant the team was officially Bradley Beal's. And there were serious questions remaining for his career now in Washington. What was going to happen? He obviously misses the 2019-20 season due to the Achilles recovery process, and he finally comes back to play in the 2020-2021 season after missing almost 2 years of action. But now he's on the team that, the Houston Rockets. They're with James Harden, who didn't really want to be there, and he was the man on Washington after being on that team for so long. They signed him to a big max contract in 2019 just for him to get traded to the Houston Rockets for Russell Westbrook. It was tough. John Wall made his return. The basketball world missed him, and he did play solid. But unfortunately, like we said, James Harden, unmotivated, didn't want to play for the Rockets anymore after playoff failures year after year. So he gets traded to Brooklyn, and now John Wall is on a team with full rebuild aspirations and just has to do his job as a vet. He averaged 20 points per game last season, but was inefficient at a career high for him. He shot about 40% from the floor, and he ended up playing only 40 out of the 72 games that were able to be played due to a shortened type of season. And just because of this, he played 40 games due to back-to-back game rest, him having a lot of rest days, and a hamstring injury late in the season, which also caused him to miss the latter part of the year. But this also allowed Houston to find a new young guard in Kevin Porter Jr., and John Wall now becomes an afterthought as a starter heading into the 2021-2022 offseason. So far this season, John Wall has not played a game in a Rockets uniform. They drafted Jalen Green with the second pick to play the two guard along with Kevin Porter Jr., and Houston has gone full rebuild. John Wall wants to play, but he wants to start, and Houston won't allow that, which makes sense because it'll kill development. So as of now, John Wall at age 30 has had major injury after major injury, is not playing due to situation, and is non-tradable due to his large contract. The next time we see John Wall in an NBA uniform or on an NBA court might be either later this season or likely next season, as Houston looks to find John Wall a new home to hopefully revive his career from being completely damaged, because the only way they can probably send him away this season is if they buy him out, and I don't think Houston wants to pay all that money. I really don't. So what's it going to be for John Wall? Is he ever going to be that star player that he once was? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Link will be down in the description. This has been a checkup where we talk hoops and hoops only, and I'll see you on the next one. Also, don't forget to let me know in the comments if you like these type of videos, because I actually really do like them. I think they're more in depth. I think it's more fun for me, and it's also more pleasant for you to watch as well, because if you're a basketball fan, I think you'll like these type of videos. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.